Yo, you already know what it is, man. It's me, Tri-Town Tory, a.k.a. Tory North, and I'm bringing to you another episode of the Tory Talk podcast. If you tuned in last week, I had my man, Captain Mars, a.k.a. Marswell, with me. We were chopping it up, and by heavy demand, the request has come through that we have him on the following podcast this week. But we have some friends with us today, too. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Mars, and then we're going to go around the circle like an orbit, and everybody's going to introduce themselves.
I'm back! Captain Mars, to my right is...
It's my BAG.
Hey, my name's Jay.
And I'm Fonso.
All right. So they're being a little shy today. I want everybody to break down a little bit of what their interests are, what they do. We got producers in the house. We got fashion designers in the house. What do we do? Go ahead, starting with you, sir.
All right, man. I create, I learn, and I try to teach. Just, day-to-day life. I make music, Awol.Jay. Check me out.
Very nice.
Dope. Again, I'm Jay. I do Coover. I do design, art, drawing, anything related to that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I do.
Back to Fonso. I'm a small business owner of On Something Print Shop. I do screen printing and embroidery. I'm a Tri-City native. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so we got some Northwest power in the house, and that's what I always try to look for. That's why I always say my life in the Northwest, because essentially no matter where I go in the world, it's always going to come back to home. Because to me, my whole purpose with everything that I do is putting the Northwest on the map in some sort of way. When I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of things to look up to. We had baseball team like Ken Griffey Jr., Jamie Moyer, like Randy Johnson. Those were my guys who were growing up, and they're kind of the model of what I look for when creating my brand and putting things out there on a certain level. So these guys right here, they represent the same thing, but these are fun guys. It's not always serious when it comes down to it. And I got some real comedians in the house today. My man Mar right here, last time had me damn near fucking rolling on the ground. The way I listened to the podcast that we did a couple of times, and man, I would tell you what, man, some of the stuff that I was hearing from people that were messaging me were like, you and Mars need to do your own fucking podcast. Like he just rolls with the punches, and it's just great. I could go down the list of the people who said that. My question to you, Mars,
I hate them all. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking.
My question to you is, what makes you laugh? What is funny to you? What kind of comedians do you like? What kind of shows do you watch? If somebody needed to get put onto something because they need a laugh during this crazy time that we're living in, what could you put them towards in a good direction?
What I think makes me laugh is to see people laugh. I think I don't know if that's like a selfish thing or it's kind of like a psycho thing. I think like you just laugh right now. I just want to like make you laugh again. There it is.
It's fucking guy. See, he doesn't even have to try. It just comes out effortlessly.
No, but I just I don't know. Maybe like all types of humor. Not just like slapstick or satire, but like I like Seinfeld, and that's more of like a. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a real like not
it's
serious
nonchalant.
But serious, type stuff. So
yeah,
but
I kind of like I like it too because I like the comedy where you have to know something to know something's funny.
Yeah,
I like The Office. A lot of people hate the fucking Office. I love it.
No, yeah,
I think
the
it's
biggest.
a generational thing too, because the younger kids don't really understand that The Office is supposed to be stupid funny.
Yeah. Well, they call Fonso Michael Scott.
That's one of my favorite. That's my favorite character, Michael Scott.
Yeah, look,
Dwight.
right there. I mean, people can't see, but you got Michael Scott over here watching you.
What do you think? What do you think about him? Reflects the Michael Scott.
I don't know. This guy's crazy. He speaking of Fonso, he's I don't know. Like you just look at him. Look at him. He's laughing right now. Come on now.
Stop it.
No, but here make a situation that's like. Kind of, not like saying like me, but like it's a serious situation. But he has like a different way of looking at it, and that's very Michael Scott. Like,
yeah,
in the show, it's kind of like you think what the person would do, like if it was you.
Yeah,
and then Michael Scott is like on the other side of the field with a different like solution to I would say like a simple issue.
Yeah,
I think one episode he was like. Weighing the whole team on a fucking like they're doing a weight loss thing and he was weighing everybody like instead of just weighing everybody and then like adding it He puts the whole team. I don't even know what that thing is called, like the weighing system.
Oh, on like a scale?
Yeah, on a
You
scale.
put them all on
A
the scale at
scale.
once.
And it was like, I mean, it could be genius. There's like
Right.
a little genius to it, but I don't know.
Man, I definitely like his character. I like Dwight because Dwight, I mean, they're just great. Like the creators of the show knew people and you put this paradigm in any kind of workspace and you can pinpoint like who the Michael Scott is, who Dwight is. And I know this because I do this at every fucking job that I've been to since I've watched The Office. I worked at a call center at Coinstar, and sure enough, there's always somebody who just wants to fucking shoot a bear with a bow and arrow. Or you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I can attribute you. You're the Dwight of this situation.
I think AG is the Dwight.
Oh
in our-
shit!
in our group.
Why?
I am manager.
All right.
No, I'm playing.
I feel it.
I take it.
If I like Michael Scott personally because I'm gonna tell you what I like about him. I like how you're rooting for him. Like you're watching and you're kind of rooting for him to not be a fucking dumbass about certain things.
Buenas tardes. Disculpe, ¿de dónde usted es ese carro blanco que está allá en la...
This part of the episode is sponsored by.
No, nosotros
Super
nomás
Mix.
tenemos dos carros, uno negro y aquí otro.
What? What'd you
I
say?
have
La van.
I have a Fusion, the white one.
I'm trying to fuse this dude.
Blanco, porque está allá para...
It's parked right here. In the,
Yeah. So if you need any rice and beans for this sponsorship and tortillas,
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, minute, man. It's
Okay.
time.
you want me to try another one? or-
No, we're good. We're
I
good.
can edit it.
Actually, I like when things like that happen
Oh,
because
shit.
I have a whole thing about breaking the matrix, man. And what it is you don't edit anything out.
Okay.
You kind of keep it in, and the reason being is because life is too edited. It's too simulated in that sense.
Yeah.
How come
It's
whenever
the Matrix, right?
Yeah. How come whenever you see something on TV, it's been touched by a million different sources? You know, it makes you have a warped reality of what's really going on out there. But let's go back to Michael Scott real quick. Okay, so Michael Scott, you're always secretly rooting for this guy to not be such a dumbass.
Well,
and to
like
actually have
to jump in, like he's kind of like the unedited version of a human.
yeah.
Like
He's
he
not-
just
definitely.
he's like an outtake of
Yeah.
like a normal person. I think like
He says whatever
yeah.
is on everyone's mind.
No filter.
Like
I
that's
don't really watch The Office, but yeah, I know. I know that.
and that's probably why this PC culture era that we're living in really doesn't like The Office because The Office used to, make its bread and butter off of saying stupid shit like that's what she said, which I still use to this day because sometimes if you hit a good that's what she said,
Yeah.
oh my god, you'll have girls laughing.
I'm gonna hit a few.
You know
I'm gonna hit a few.
what I'm saying? But
Do you think there's a lot of people that don't like The Office? Like, I don't necessarily not like The Office. I just never really watched it, and I don't know. I watch other shows, But I mean, like, I feel like The Office might be the most popular show of our generation.
right, yeah, definitely. I think so. I mean, it sits there right next to like Friends and Seinfeld. Like every decade or so or generation or so, there's a big shift, and you kind of need that mindless show that you can put on and you can do whatever the fuck you want and you need to do. The thing about The Office that I think is interesting, and the reason why it's attacked, is it's pop culture. Whenever you get to the top of the top, you're gonna be hated. It's a polarizing space to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So like you could think of like how, what's the most perfect person that you could think of in not perfect, but like you can't really criticize this person because they're excellent. I say Elon Musk, right? Well, there's a huge group of people who think that Elon Musk is not that great.
Mm-hmm.
And they could go down their factual evidence. And to me, I'm a little bit on the Elon cult, so I wouldn't look
Buy
at that
into
as
it,
actual.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So pop culture is a very interesting thing because it's an overarching structure. You get to the very top and you're hated. On one end, you're hated, and on the other hand, you're loved. And see, I haven't seen one celebrity, one superstar who's been able to overcome that when it starts affecting them. Because once they're conscious of the hate, then it starts to consume them. And I'll give you an example. Lil Wayne. Ever since Lil Wayne got to the very top that he ever could get, he fell back because I felt like it was becoming too overwhelming for him, and he hasn't really been able to get that same feeling that he had. Like the music's good. Like he raps. I put him in the same category as Eminem right now. Like they can rhyme. They can rhyme their fucking heads off. And it's smart, it's cool, it's clever, it's fun. But it's not the fucking same. It's not like when Eminem did Till I Collapse. You know, and he's naming off all these fucking rappers. That changed the culture of hip hop. You can say whatever you want about Eminem, but people go back to that song and they pinpoint the way that he listed that, and he puts himself at the very end of the fucking. So you know what order he's going at, right? So when Kendrick Lamar came through and did the same exact thing, it showed you how important he was to the culture at that time period, because the same thing happened. You know, he put Mac Miller in that fucking thing.
Is that like kind of like we were talking about the TV shows? Like every decade, there's like a different sound. So like, I mean, if you're popping for 2 years, like in music, do you think music could be a little faster than a decade? Like TV shows?
But are we talking decades or are we talking generations? Because generations are now I'd say a generation now is probably every 3 to 4 years versus I feel like in the 90s, like the 90s was a generation,
Right?
And now there's Gen Z and Gen X, and you know, so
Shout
it's
out
like
to Gen X.
it's going so fast, you know, to where like, what do you like? These generations, I feel like, don't really have
Right.
the timeless classics really that like we got to enjoy as kids, you know, like we got The Lion King, we got Pocahontas, we got all these things, and so like. I mean, like, I would say, like, Soul, maybe, is, like, a great example of, like, something that would stick with this generation for, like, the next 3 years. It's a great movie, you know? But it's, like, how do you, like, so, like, how do you tap into that, you know?
Right.
Because there's some people that transcend that. I mean, like, I feel like Wayne, Drake, who else? Kid Cudi. They not only, like, came in during one generation, Pharrell.
Oh,
not
they
only did
stuck.
they come in with one generation, but then they like transcended, and then they were able to keep up. And even though like they might have got some hate, but I feel like they were able to outweigh that, you know, through time, or through, you know, staying true to themselves, however that may be, you know.
I think that there's two components to how you're able to adjust. You have to be a student first and foremost, because if you don't understand the rudimentary elements to go into the foundation of whatever you do, then you're lost. Like, I couldn't go do anything with my car right now if I wanted to, but I know mechanics who could, just like that, make me feel like an idiot, right? So there's that student of the art component, but then there's that mastery level after you become a student and you've been in your understanding for years and years and years. And what that is the ability to be innovative with the information that you're learning. So, for example, these guys that you just named, they fall into that category. Kid Cudi, I'm going to fall back on the Kid Cudi comment because he does piggyback off of a lot of his sons. He influenced a whole generation of people. There's that word generation. Yeah. But what he did was he created an influence toolbox that he uses for his music now. And Lil Wayne, it's the same sort of deal. Because if you look at all these kids, they all look like Lil Wayne. You know, with the face tats and all that bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
So if you have a big enough impact, then you can have a residual career, but it's not necessarily your peak. If anything, it's just good business at that point. It's no longer the impactful art that, and that also goes to your Lion King comment, or was it Lion King? The Disney comment. I think that was the rise of the innovation of the time period for that. So, like, the first Lion King you get is going to be the most mind-blowing experience ever. And because
talking lions? Come on now.
Yeah. And because nothing else compares to it at that point, it's going to be a timepiece for you at that point. But kids will watch the Lion King now, and some of them will be like, oh, Dad, this is boring, change it. And I'll just be like I grew up off this shit.
Do you think that, like, that they, is that why they're making a whole bunch of, like, remakes? You know,
that's his business.
Yeah, you don't just strictly money.
Yeah,
like,
anytime you see the remakes, anytime you see the sequels, that's just business because people are running out of ideas and they're afraid to take risks.
So it's a quick buck because like I don't have kids, but like I don't think that a kid is gonna be like, I want to see like the new Lion King. I want to see this over and over, and like I don't see it being like, you say Lion King, you think of the cartoon. You know, you don't. Right. Maybe I mean
like it doesn't have older, the replay value.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you got to also take into consideration where we were as a society when these things were happening, because of course things like DVDs or movies, VHS had replay value because you purchased it, you owned it, you had to watch it, you stored it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's now, right there in your face. Yeah.
Exactly. And now we don't store any. I mean, our phones hold everything, right? Or our iPads, our computers, and things of that nature. That's why we're okay with not owning things anymore. We're okay with licensing things. And that's a scary thing because I grew up where I had every mixtape I ever had, I had saved. Every CD that I had, like Cameron, I had his whole discography. Big Pun, everybody. And the reason for it is because that's how we got down back then. You had to go spend money to be in the culture.
I think, I remember, when I first, not first met Fonso, but I remember him telling about a story about going to get, is it, not 50 Cent? It's not 50
Oh,
Cent.
yeah, no.
In the snow?
That was Kanye West.
Kanye
My
West.
Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah.
So that was what, 2010?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
AG's a...
It was.
AG will know.
He said
It was
yes.
the best album of the decade by some publication.
When it came out, I used to always just go out and buy like a physical copy, even when iTunes was going on.
You told me that story too. And I think I told you about my Young Buck story. Did I tell you about that?
I don't think
Okay. I rode a bike like 5 miles,
That's a long ass time.
right? To go get the Young Buck CD.
Dang.
But I'm going to tell you
Trying to
why. Because it had that fucking song with Ludacris and T.I. on it, Stomp.
Yeah.
Where they diss each other on the same fucking song.
Yeah.
That's how deep I was in the culture. Like, if anything happened, I had to be there in the forefront.
For one song, though?
Oh, hell yeah.
Shit, that's why they made LimeWire.
that
But you said
wasn't
that.
until later.
Yeah, but even then you're buying the
No,
physical
yeah,
copy.
You
you got
download
the-
the wrong song, you got the right virus for your computer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to do that.
That was good.
And people were also downloading pornography accidentally and then getting grounded for life.
Or Soulja
For
Boy
life.
songs.
Yeah.
I would tell you what, man. Shout out to my uncle, man. I accidentally downloaded some porn on his computer when I was a
He
kid.
said accidentally.
And guess what? When I came back to see if it was gone, because I thought I deleted it, it rejuvenated somehow. And it was watched. It was like viewed. And I was like, oh shit.
You're like, hey.
That motherfucker just got put onto the internet.
He was like, yo, this 50 Cent album's so good. This Young Buck album goes hard.
Shout out to my uncle. But yeah, so that's the whole replaying value thing. Because right now, and also to speak on the culture, that's why you have a 6ix9ine in the internet era. Because he didn't have to pay to get in the culture by being a student of the game, right? He snuck in the same way that streaming and all this other bullshit snuck in. Because if you make it free for someone to be a part of your world, they're gonna do whatever the fuck they want with it, and they'll vandalize it, they'll misappropriate it, it'll be a mockery. But when I was growing up, hip hop is like my universe, you know. So when I was growing up, it was protected to the point of you couldn't even rap if you didn't have the fucking stripes. And you got the stripes by putting the hours in, by going to battles and grinding. If you know me around this area, I must have battled at 1,000 house parties. I must have rapped for like over 100,000 hours. That's what it felt like. Because motherfuckers weren't, I didn't see a record deal coming down the street. It was not gonna happen. I knew that I had to go the Jay-Z route, which was I had to build the label, sign myself, build the clothing brand. I had to do it all like blueprint. He gave us the blueprint, we did it. And that just kind of shows you what it was like a couple decades ago as it is now. Because you could do the things that took me 20 years in 20 days. And
20 minutes, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, it won't hold up as long as my shit has, because I've been around doing my thing when there was no paychecks.
Do you have like a favorite, rapping or freestyling or studio session like memory?
Oh yeah, I got several. There was one time when I showed up to a party, and everybody was trying to get me. Well, I would always get phone calls like, "Hey, this guy over here thinks he raps. Can you come over here and put him in his place?"
Okay.
And it could be 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. I had to go get the keys from my parents because you know what I'm saying. And I would get in the
He
car
said,
and
fuck the bike.
Yeah.
No more Young Buck.
There was one.
I'm the young buck.
I'm the Young Buck now.
I'll tell you what, man. This was the same time period. My parents would take the car keys away for anything. But I'll tell you what, man. I was like 16 driving to these parties or whatever. And I'd get to the party. And next thing you know, I'm on top of a fucking pool table like I'm BMX. Spitting bars like I'm about to kill somebody.
Oh, really?
And it just goes to show you that, like, when you're hot, you're hot.
No,
Yeah, that's one of my favorite memories. Another one is when another phone call like that, they called me to come up to the Columbia Court apartments over here behind Burger King.
Okay.
And out there was Jabari, Bars, Long Gotti, fucking John, Soul Music, basically like Black House and Young Riders, and fucking the G Team minus Sav. We're all right there. And they were just barring out, dude. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like what do they want with me?
They
here,
want
right?
that pool table.
So I started spitting, and they're like, see, I told you this motherfucker's crazy. And it's because
I see. It was
you know
word of
what I'm
mouth
saying?
type of thing.
Yeah, word of mouth is how we operated back then. That was our communication system. And anybody who was anybody knew about Bowser Vic.
Okay.
And that's enough of my stroking my ego, but I just want to let you guys know that this shit gets deep with the culture. You know what I'm saying? And right now we need people like us who put their life and well-being on the line to push the lines when it comes to arts and things of that nature, because there's so many forces that are trying to minimize us and trying to push us to the corner, like what we do isn't impactful or useful, when you actually need the arts and things of that nature in order to pacify and get us through the times that we're going through, like this pandemic. But like, I'm gonna turn that around to you guys. What's a couple moments or a moment that you guys are proud of, where you could be like, wow, I did the groundwork, I put it together, and now the world's enjoying it.
Ooh,
or, you know,
I like that question. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. I still think, like, you know, some people, the people that do tell me that they think what I do, and alongside with Fonso, like what we do together as a team and as individuals ourselves, you know, when people say that we're inspiring, or that, you know, that we're motivational, or just what we do, you know, is what pushes them forward and stuff. I think that stuff is incredible. You know, it's flattering. Like, or even I was telling Marv earlier, you know, like for me, like an experience earlier today is like a coworker of mine. She's been buying shirts from the brand for like a year now, and she just found out today that I was the one who did it, and she was tripping because she was like, I've worked with you this whole time and I never knew, and I've just been buying your stuff, you know.
That's real, man.
Yeah, and so like to me that is probably like, you know, the craziest thing. That, like, I mean, it's the whole reason that you do it, you know, the whole reason that, like, you know, I used to say that, like, my favorite part of creating something, or, you know, my favorite part of just even imagining things, is that at that point, the point where, like, you know, like I could say that there was a point when I finished that Coover logo on Illustrator. That night, you know, I was the only person in the world that knew that existed, that's seen it, you know? And that to me was like the funnest thing, you know, like that was so fun, like so cool that you can create things like for yourself, and, you know, you don't really have to, like, I mean, like, I always think, like, you know, touching back on that subject that you were saying, that, you know, when pop culture kind of gets a hold of an artist, or of an artist of any respect, you know, whatever medium they choose, they, you know, they go downhill and stuff. And I feel like it's not that so much so as that, like, when you're first creating something, you know, you're so hungry to say something. You're so hungry to, like, to experience life, to do all these things, and I feel like that is what pushes a lot of artists forward in the beginning, you know. But then, like, there becomes a point where you've experienced so much in your life that maybe you run out of things that you want to do, you know. And I feel like that's where some artists maybe lose their thing, you know.
Their motivation.
Their motivation, because it's like they've driven all the cars, you know. J. Cole, I love J. Cole because he talks about that. He said, man, like, I made it to the top, and, you know, that was nuts for me. And like, my personal experience with that was just like, you know, as a designer and stuff, you know, a lot of people, you know, your dream is to, like, do something for a big box brand, you know. And I got the opportunity to do that, and I was just like, damn, you know, like, for me, that it was cool, you know. It was a moment, but then, like, once it passed, I was like, man, like, I would much rather have a night where I celebrate with my friends, people I love, you know, and people I want to be with for the rest of my life, than to work for a big check any day. And, like, it's crazy because I feel like, you know, like, now that's all I really care about, is just being around people that I want to be around with and hang out with, you know, like we were talking about earlier. And just because, like, at the end of the day, I did this job for this big box brand, finished it, turned it in, submitted it. They loved it. They thought it was amazing and stuff.
Right.
Next week, there's somebody else. You know?
Mm.
And so it's like you're just a moment in the zeitgeist, right? But that moment also belongs to you, right? And we have our own moments, our own universes, our own lives that we go through. And I feel like if you try to stay inside of that and create your moment to keep pushing and keep blasting it, then you'll always enjoy. You'll always find happiness. Because just like there's some people that maybe ran out of motivation, there's other people that you see people that are like, oh man, I'm going to the safari. Oh man, like I didn't even know you're into that. It's because you just try to find joy in everything you do.
Right.
And it's just like it's pretty interesting. And for going off on this tangent, but like for me that the moment that solidified it for me and that makes me be proud of things that I do is just having someone know me that knows what I create, knows what I make and stuff, and they don't even realize that it's me.
Right.
And I think that's like it's a pretty incredible experience.
Proud dad feeling when you see your kids out there doing good. You're like, oh man.
Yeah, you're like, wow, like that's my son. That's like Neo. And what's that movie where he's like, that's my roommate? I love that moment because it's like, man, like Neo might not have a talent, but his roommate is out there dancing, going crazy in the club, and he's like, yo, that's my roommate.
Yeah.
That's my connection to the moment. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like as a people, we should maybe cherish that a little bit more. Is just cherish those moments, and like find joy in that, so you never lose that, And because we always want more, man. Like pop culture is insane because, I mean, man, you name it. How many people have we had in pop culture? Bro, everybody from Wayne to Warhol to fucking Michelangelo to Da Vinci to freaking philosophers like Socrates and
Lawrence Fishburne
Michael Scott.
Full circle. I mean, like all these people were just moments in the zeitgeist that's known as pop culture. You know? And so it's like we can be in it and stuff, and you might get your quote unquote 15 minutes of shame or of fame, but
sure, I live that every day. You know what I'm saying?
Be you though.
But you have to be.
But how do you keep going though? Like say you feel like you made the best thing you've made, and you're gonna ride that high for a little bit. But like say if you like find yourself not motivated, I know like motivation will come in like glimpses. Like maybe you see a sticker and then you think of an idea, but like. I'm guessing it's.
You know what I
called?
think?
Is that,
I think that because I know
writer's
we're getting
block
at.
type thing.
Well, even let's take it to the next level. What if it's a writer's block that won't go away?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Like it's months and months, and maybe even sometimes years. Because I know that there's some serious artists out there like Hemingway, and like they get in these huge blocks that they even contemplate changing everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait, the guy that cut off his ear, that composer.
Bingo.
Is that the same thing? Was he like?
No.
Like, was he just going crazy?
No, Van Gogh had his issues as a person. He was like very depressed. He was actually like super poor. His brother is the one who like gave him like Van Gogh wasn't famous
Until after, right?
40 years after he died.
Oh, so,
when he
okay.
was alive, nobody bought his stuff. When he was alive, people were like, "This guy's fucking." He's like the neighbor that you're like,
Right.
"Yo, this dude's fucking nuts," right? Nobody wants to hang out with him. Nobody wants to talk to him. But like until afterwards, that's what I'm saying, man. It's like he wasn't even alive to experience his moment
success.
in the zeitgeist. Yeah. He wasn't. And then you have the complete opposite spectrum. You have Picasso, who invented his moment, and his moment became his existence. I mean, we still say, people that don't even care about art know who Picasso is. People that don't even like, people aren't even interested in anything.
I was thinking Pinocchio.
They're just like, And so think about it. Like, it's like, man, it's so interesting to think that like, you could say that Picasso has the same influence on this like zeitgeist of pop culture as Kleenex, right? Because Kleenex isn't even Kleenex. Kleenex is tissue.
Yeah.
It's tissue paper. But
the brand got bigger.
But
it's
the
a
brand
lifestyle.
the brand got bigger than the product itself. So now everybody knows it as Kleenex. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like when you say like, all right, so like you say, you pick the medium, right? I'm a painter. All right. Oh, you're Picasso, right? Oh, hey, you're a product developer, or you're a software engineer. Oh, you're Steve Jobs, you know? Or hey, I'm a comedian, you know? Oh, you're Eddie Murphy. You're Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
You're Michael Scott, you know?
Right.
These are the people that really like made their moments in my opinion, at least. I mean, I who am I, you know? But I mean, like,
I totally agree with what you're saying.
You know, it's
I think that, like, to answer your question about what you do when you get into those kind of things, me personally, and I think that like Wayne and all these guys understand this to a certain bit too as well, is that you go back to the roots. You have to go back to ground zero where it all started, and then you have to really evaluate what just happened. Because when you look at the whole spectrum of what just happened, things worked and things didn't work. So what the future should be is the time period that you've already lived, except edited. I know
There you go.
that's ironic considering what we were talking about not too long ago. But so life has to be a mix of editing and rawness in order for you to continue to grow and evolve in this medium, in this space. Because the reason I say that is because look at Kanye. I'm a huge Kanye stan.
you or he was bigger? Just kidding.
My guy AG.
Because there's different kinds of Kanye stans.
True.
Okay, there's like the more like digitech kind of Kanye stan, and then there's the more like digging in the crates kind of Kanye stan, and there's the ego-driven,
Celebrity style.
Celebrity style. Me, I'm a fan of the whole spectrum, and I understand him so well because I think that he's a reflection of my own personality to a certain extent. So the reason why he still continues to stay around is that he still looks at the world with kid eyes. He's the one who said that you have to keep your inner child alive or you die. And I think that there's so much truth to that, because if you notice, the people who stop living, stop caring about things, they start to deteriorate, they start to age, they start to fall apart. And it has a lot to do about how you feel. If you ever hear people say, you're only as old as you feel, and people say, well, I feel old as fuck. Well, you're burying yourself, because it's all mental. This life that we're living, this sleeve that we have that we call a body, you know what I'm saying? The mind, body, and the soul work. And I don't want to go too until we're ready for that path, but what I'm trying to say is that it's all connected, and if one part of your being is cancerous, it's going to get to the rest. So what you have to do is you have to find out where those roots are, and you have to take care of them. So you got to do the elbow work in who you are, what you've done, and what you plan to do. And people look at the past, the present, and the future as three separate things and not the same thing. It's the same thing at the same time, because present is a mix of the future and the past at the same time. And I'll tell you why that is. Because you can fix your past and you can work for your future while you are conscious in the present state. See, this is
deep, dude.
These are ideas that I've thought about for a long time. And that's why it's allowed me to kind of fix who I am as a person while creating who I'm going to be tomorrow. This is so important for people to understand, because a lot of people live in two-dimensional worlds, like South Park fucking characters, where they literally are just like this, going to work, going home, getting yelled at by the girlfriend or husband or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
You got no knees.
I'm single. I'm single because I couldn't live in that kind of two-dimensional world. You know what I'm saying? I had to be me 360 at all times. And you know what? Maybe I just chose the wrong partner, right? No, because I have a beautiful little girl. This is all part of the plan. I wasn't who I needed to be at the time period, but it helped me figure out where I needed to go. So, you have the light and you know the direction you need to go. But why are you so worried about whether there's going to be success down the pathway? It doesn't fucking matter. Success is what you created. Like, for example, I started a podcast in a pandemic. If I didn't do anything in the pandemic, I was going to hate myself. I knew that I had to focus and I had to get things going. And I also knew that I didn't have the money to do a big studio like I dream of, right? But I knew that I had the wherewithal to put the elements together that I had and grab the networking and friends that I had together to start to mold something. And that's something special to me. So I'm creating the value system. I'm also creating the belief system. So what you can say is that I'm creating a religion of myself that I have to follow and I keep personal to me. This is what I'm hoping to commodify. And the reason being is because I believe that anybody who needs a little bit of help, a little bit of push, a little bit of motivation can just jump into the Tory North sleeve and then start to get it popping. So that's what I push with my art, and that's what I push with my culture. So to go back to your question about what you do when you start to get the writer's block and you don't know where to go, you just look back in the past.
So if you... Oh, go ahead.
I think in a sense I agree. Like there's been a few people that ask me like, what do you do when you get writer's block, or like, same thing, creative block or whatever it is. But I think it's just like, you know, I think if you practice, I mean, like, one, it's like a creative block or whatever it is just maybe like, you know, maybe you're creating stuff that isn't up to the standard of success that you want it to be, right? Maybe it's not like, you know, for example, me making t-shirts, you know, Fonso make t-shirts, I don't know who thinks of it the same way, but it's like I don't compare myself really to like who's doing what really, right? I mean, like, if a shirt sells 1 or 20, fuck it. Like, you know, the fact that it was made and it's existing in its life, you know, that's success. It's just subjective. You know, it doesn't really matter. And I think that is a real like, it's, you have to be careful with what you describe as like a writer's block, you know, because in reality that's what people describe as writer's block. It's like, you know, and so for what I tell, you know, people who ask me, it's like, man, you don't have writer's block because like you can always practice. Like, are you the best person at drawing hands in the world? No, probably not. Are you the best person at drawing eyes? No, probably not. You know what? Me neither. Right? And so like one of my favorite quotes is by this guy named Chuck Close, who's this paraplegic artist, and he's incredible, right? He can only move his hand and, you know, his eyes and mouth and stuff, but he paints full-on canvases, you know, that, you know, us standing 6 feet tall, you know, we might not even approach the 6 foot canvas, but I mean, he does it sitting in, he does it sitting in a chair where he can't even move. And so like, he says, amateurs wait for inspiration, right? Amateurs wait for motivation. Professionals just go to work in the morning, you know, because if you trust your craft and you know what you're doing, right? You're just going to go to work and you're going to say, hey, I'm going to make something, whether it's good or not, but I'm going to make something. It doesn't matter what it is. And so writer's block is like an asterisk in a book, you know, it's like a bottom note on a book, man. It's just something that you self-imposed. You get caught up in, and you're like, oh man, I can't fucking create, blah blah blah. It's like you can create. It
doesn't need to be in the same lane too. You can just create something else. Take some pictures. Look something else that inspires you. Read a book. It doesn't need to be in the same creative outlet. As long as you find something that inspires you, and you can transfer it over to what you want to create with in your own hands, and it brings that feeling that you brought, that piece brought you. You know, that's a form of motivation for me. You know?
Nice.
Exactly.
Cooper's a big motivation for me. Seeing you guys, you know, Fonso, you guys creating your stuff, it's always dope, man.
Yeah.
Do you think that's why like celebrities that, you know, like say, let's go back to Kanye, like that made it, and they lose their inspiration, and they have all this, you know how you're saying that you don't have all this studio stuff. Say he has all that.
Right.
Instead of, you know, like, do you go downwards from that point? Like to go back, like, you know, like, you know how he was staying in Chicago for a little bit. Like how does do you think that?
You notice that about him, right?
Yeah.
He does that a lot. Like he goes to different places, he sets up shop and works because he
Hawaii,
feels that if he changes
Wyoming,
the settings,
all that kind of stuff.
that it inspires him. And I think it does inspire him because his art reflects. Like when he was over there in Hawaii, what I think he was doing Beautiful Twisted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Go to my Kanye.
And then when he was in Wyoming and then the kids Seacoast, like you could see some of that breaking through to his art in the visual aspect, but also with the music, all of the lights, you know, like he's got different songs that really hit different moods, but they also pop the picture in your brain when you're listening to the music. Like I was just listening to a song called, I think it's called Ecstasy. Have you ever heard it? Yeah. Ecstasy, ecstasy. Okay, I heard it one time, and it was stuck in my fucking head 4 days later. It just started randomly playing, and I was thinking to myself, like, dude, he is so powerful. Like, the way that he puts sounds together, like, at first it's so abstract, it almost feels like a piano chewed it up and spit it out. Like, it was just like a gumball stuck under the table. Like, what the fuck is this? That's how abstract it comes off. Like that Ecstasy song.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, what is this, right? I didn't even think it had like a rhythmic, you know, where you could just start dropping bars on it. But when it was popping in my head, I was like, this is the dopest fucking Kanye song that I've heard in a long time.
Is it new?
He has that Trojan horse.
Oh,
He has that Trojan horse ability where he breaches the system, and then it has an effect later on. That's why he is what he is to pop culture, because the things that he chooses to do, like with the Taylor Swift thing, it positions him and aligns him in a certain way where you're gonna have to deal with this guy. You can't just remove him from situations. He's the only person who got Illuminati and didn't get Illuminati.
But
you remember when they kidnapped his ass?
No, what do you mean?
I also think
happened?
though that I also think that yeah, allegedly. I also believe though that there's a facade to these things, because like I feel like and I believe Kanye talks about this, but it's like taste, it's your level of taste, whatever is on your palate, that is what you will, base your level of
You don't know what
success
you're
on.
missing until you got something else.
No, yeah, and so it's like that's the issue, right? So like tying these two tangents together. Okay, people that say they have creative block, right? Is like you have creator's block, right? But in comparison to who, right? And then going to the next tangent which is the one I'm touching on, is that this facade is like we see one person, right? We see the face of an operation, right? But we don't know who's behind that. I mean, there's ideas from, let's say, touching on Kanye. There's ideas from producers, from engineers, from mixing masters, from other lyricists, other singers, songwriters, other painters, other dude, literally anything, And I really the way I believe is that your surroundings influence like what you're making, the way you feel influences what you're making and what you're into and stuff, but it's like it's a facade in one sense because we only see that one face, and we're tricked into believing that you have to do everything by yourself, right? But it's not true. It literally takes a village to grow anything that's great. In order for one person to transcend, there needs to be 10 people behind that. And even if there is even if it seems like one person is great, their support team or those surroundings that make them transcend and make them better and make them grow might not even be people that are in the same industry or the same field. It could be their parents, it could be their friends, it could be their brothers and sisters and cousins, or it could be the magazines that they're reading, it could be the books that you're reading. Like,
you know what hit me the hardest? Like what you're saying is that I don't know if anybody listened to Big Sean's last album. He has a song on there, and there's like a snippet of Diddy on it, and he says, what does he say? Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's like, what does he say?
About what? His first million?
Yeah, he was like, I didn't do it alone, or something like that. And that's the
yeah.
craziest thing. It's like, you
but
think of
nothing's
Diddy,
done alone.
and yeah, exactly.
Right. You think that Diddy would be a person who did.
Yeah, like because the way he comes off is like so like
Kanye
precise,
is the same way.
and then he comes out. And, I mean, like he has a team, but he like said it like in case you forgot.
To
Like
piggyback on what you're saying and what he said too, the facade thing can work in reverse as well. Because yes, you do need a team to project your brand or whatever you are to a master appeal audience, but you can also create the facade that you have a team, and that is what I've been doing for a while. And
I feel like it's kind of like Russ, like he's so successful, and then he tells you, no, it's me, and I'm pretty sure he has his team, but like I mean, it made it seem like he didn't, like he was doing so much, and
because
like,
check
working.
this out. What I've been able to do is I took the blueprint of Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records and I've taken other blueprints and I've kind of smashed them together where my ideal blueprint is, and I've been working on it. So when people ask me who runs the Graveyard Shift merchandise, and honestly it's me and him. I work with him and then I put it out there, right? And what about the podcast? Well, the podcast is me and the phone. So I'm creating departments for headquarters that don't exist. And why I'm doing this is because I can man every situation from my control room, I guess you could say. And I'm like an Elon Musk in that sense, where I'm hoping that I can create mechanisms to trigger operations by just waking up in the morning. That's what my dream is. My dream is to be myself and have all this free time, but still be getting paid for being myself. And that's the opposite of the whole facade thing, because if you were to look at it through one lens, it's me and I'm doing everything, right? But if you looked at the whole picture of what my impact is on culture or whatever I'm doing, you would almost think that I was signed and I had people working for me. So yes and no, both can exist. There's always two different methods or multiple different methods to getting the same answer. What I think is really impressive are people who don't need validation, like you, my friend. Like how you can create something for yourself and you could be satisfied with that and not necessarily need the sales to continue to create art.
Well, I think like, it's important, at least in my perspective, because like, I when people ask me stuff, I say, like, this is like my philosophy, this is the way I think, because this is what works for me, but your life is different, and your life is, everybody's life is different. We don't know what affects, anything to each other's lives, but the reason that I landed on that and I've kind of stuck by it, it's like I rarely ask for outside opinions on like things that I make or things that I create, and I'm usually like in my room by myself. But what's important to me is that if I'm happy with it, then I know everybody that I show from that moment forward will be they'll be happy because they'll like it. They'll know that it's for me and it's genuine for me, And I'm like, and I think it's a very slippery slope. Not that it's untread, but it's a very slippery slope to create for like someone else, right? Unless that person really exists, and they're giving you money to make something for them. But it's like if you're creating, like if I were to create for the followers, right, or the people that follow Coover, then there might be a connect, right, for a little bit where I put out a shirt and it hits and the next one hits as well, right? But then the moment where something gets put out and then it's a dud, then I could potentially lose all self-confidence because I'm like, oh, what's going on? These people don't fuck with me anymore. Why is that?
Call it a Van Gogh.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so it's like, for me, it's like I will give myself that validation because I'm always creating for me. And I feel like, a lot of people, touching on what you said, so it's like, you do have teams of one and you do have teams of teams, and the facade comes from people that are always being compared to, right? So like LeBron James, right? LeBron James is the face of that organization. And I'm talking not the Lakers, I'm talking about the organization that is LeBron James, because he has a nutritionist, he has a like lifting specialist, he has a stylist that makes him look good, he has, a bunch, he probably has a psychologist, and he probably has a therapist and a counselor, and he has all these things,
Like
and
Drake,
those,
guys like that.
Yeah, and those are the ones that help them become that, what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes, and I was victim to it myself, I always thought like, oh man, I gotta be like this guy, and and it's some person who's fucking, a huge designer, and he has books and all these things. And then I learned that it's like, it might have even been a dude and his wife was the one that supported the shit out of him, so they do great, An example, Fonso, this dude's amazing. And I think like, and see, that's where it's crazy, because some people might say like, oh, you gotta be like Supreme, you gotta be like this. And I'm like, man, I told him earlier today,
There's already a Supreme.
Yeah, I'm like, the way you're running the brand that you're doing, that you're creating day by day, that's a masterclass on how it should be done. Because your platform might not be at 100% of the United States, right? It might not be every single place. But where it's impacting hard. And those people fuck with you, and those people believe you. And even though they might not have met you, or they might have, you don't know, but those people believe in you. And so it's like
full circle right there.
Yeah,
if you're a coworker.
Yeah, exactly. And so like those people might not even like know. They might know you, and they just might not know that it's you. And so it's like, to me, he's a success in that sense. And I would much rather be like him than to be like Supreme, because
You point at me.
No, sorry. No, because Supreme, you know, they have this allure and they have this grandeur and they have all these great things, you know. But, you know, like, what is that to me, you know?
Right.
And so it is success and it is money. So, but you have to be honest with yourself in defining that.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be honest with yourself in respecting that fact and saying, you know what, I'm doing this shit because I want money.
Right.
Okay, there's no harm in that. There's no foul in that. Of course, if you like any person that does art and says that they want to do it just because and they never want to make money off of it.
Right.
It's not true because it's like, bro, money is just a fact of life. You know, you need it to survive just like you need food. You know,
That's true.
And so it's like, you know, I want to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Who fucking doesn't, bro?
Right.
There's homeless people that want to be millionaires. There's people who make $100 grand that still want to be millionaires. You know.
That's true.
And so it's like you have to just be honest, and you can't let your mind trick you by saying, "Hey, I have creative block," or "Hey, I want to be like this person." Because even though they're simple sentences, the structure of that dives really deep, and it can hurt the way you think. It can make you feel like a lesser person, or you know, a lesser anything.
I think that's very important, everything that you just said, because a young artist like who I was when I started, if I heard something like that, it would be so beneficial to me because we have no guidance when we start things. So hearing that, I know that there is years behind that, and it takes a lot of self-mastery to have that sort of inner peace with yourself where you can have the patience for yourself to create something that may or may not appease other people, but hey, it checks all the damn boxes on your list, and to you that's a grade A bona fide fucking classic masterpiece, because I don't imagine that you would do something that you didn't deem to that level of taste.
Yeah.
Because I've watched your guys' stuff for a couple years now. I've looked at old things, and I've thought to myself, like when you said the Supreme comment, I understand why somebody would say that. Because that's almost like an introductory, like if I was to get into streetwear and I was so brand new that I was just trying to be relevant in any kind of conversation, that is something that I would tell to a creator because I was hoping to be in the conversation, right?
Yeah.
But
I'll be in the same room.
But there's so many mistakes with that because we make so many mistakes when we just want to be in the conversation.
And that's
right?
important, I think, like
Oh, yeah, big time.
to make mistakes, to even attempt to try to do something.
Yeah.
Takes courage. And like, you know, like when I first made a beat, it was like a 2-bar loop for 2 minutes. My mom was like, turn that shit off. You know, burnt on a CD, 1 beat for a CD.
Damn,
now it's
whole
now
beat,
now
bro.
that's money spent on a stack of CDs that's supposed to last you, you know, a couple months, last 2 weeks.
You have the same kind of thing as Jay. Like you guys, I look at your production in the same way where you don't really care if it is hitting
You're like-
with trends or if
Right.
people will run to buy beats from you. You don't
Yeah.
care. You don't put a lot of stock in that aspect to it. You just know what you like and you put it out there for your friends who also happen to like what you create. So I definitely see the connection between the two. And I feel like it's such an alien in that part of a conversation because I come from a time period where you had to hit everything.
Yeah.
You had to swing everywhere.
They're like, you got one? Let me see another one.
You had to throw
Yeah.
everything to see what stuck. It was the post Lil Wayne mixtape era. But
Yeah, Wayne was on, bro. He was on every single genre, and you're like, bro, he still is. This is insane.
he did. You know what I noticed about Wayne? That he did what we were doing, but he was already on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was rapping over the instrumental beats for anybody's, shit, putting it on mixtapes, putting it out
The
there.
droughts,
He created
The droughts.
the secondary mixtape
Yeah.
run that was on the internet primarily.
Yeah.
He created that a lot by himself, and you've seen Wiz Khalifa and different guys that benefited off of Dat Piff and all
Pleasure.
mixtape, and you know what I'm saying. So I think that there's 2 ways to approach. You got more introverted and more extroverted approaches. I'm more of an extroverted person because I feel more comfortable in a group. But I have my best friend, Eduardo, who's the second half of the Hard Hitters, who's a fucking fashion guru now. I don't know if you've seen this man.
You look like Inspector Gadget.
He looks like Inspector Gadget meets Morpheus. Like my nigga
Shots
is
of cap.
dripped. He's dripped as fuck. And that's all love. But he was the more introverted soul.
Yeah.
And me, I was the extroverted. So like we had this balance with the hard hitters that you don't see. That was like the Mobb Deep. Like you see a couple of those duos from the past that kind of had the same sort of thing going on.
Like the Clips.
The Clips,
Yeah.
perfect example.
There you go.
And you don't really get that nowadays with groups, but it's important because two can exist.
Outcast?
Two different outcasts.
yeah.
Two different personalities can exist. So I've always admired the introverted souls because I believe that they are doing it the right way. Because they take their time and it's cranked just the right way. They calibrate everything to the point of where everything is room temperature. And extroverts like myself are literally abstract, throw paint on the wall. Let's that's the kind of people that we are by nature. But the big mistake is to think that one is better than the other because they're both two different beasts.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
like when you, like talking about you, your lyrics, when you write lyrics,
Yeah.
how much times do you have to like rewrite the same lyric to make sure that that's what you want to say? Like to give, like say if you're thinking about somebody, like what feeling are you trying to give them? Like do you rewrite your lyrics over and over, or if it's like it sounds good, it's gonna go like
What I'll do is I'll throw
like
a
with
beat
your
on.
craft, yeah.
But I'll throw a beat on, and then the first line has to be the one that I wrote. Like literally, that's the one that has to work.
Okay.
If that works, then the second one I can play with.
Okay.
And then the third one I can play with. The fourth has to be. So the first and the fourth are always the ones that I have to put a lot of focus on because I think that there's something to the psychology of a listener who loves a line that stands out. Like, oh shit!
That
did
shit
you hear
was
that?
deep.
I'm gonna rewind that.
Clever,
Rewind that,
yeah.
right? I'm gonna go back to that or whatever. And what I've noticed about that is if you look at the composition of a verse, you got your 16 bar verse, right? You have your 8 bar hook, and you have your 4 bar lead in on the beginning of the intro where it hasn't really kicked off yet. And I'm talking to the producer like he doesn't know, right? But this is the thing. You always want to impact hard with your lyrics on the very beginning of a verse or of a hook because that's what people are going to remember. Like think of like the best lead-off lines. Do you have any lead-off lines that you like from any artist? If I sat and thought, I could probably think of several. Jay-Z's really good about it. There's a couple of different artists that are really good about that.
That's kind of hard to think of right now. But
What's a lead-off line?
Like just the first line, like in a verse, like. Yeah,
that's kind of hard. Yeah.
There's a rap where they never come back. That's Nas.
Okay.
There's a rap where y'all never come back.
Okay, New York State of straight at the dungeons of rap where fake niggas don't make it back. I don't know how to start this. Rappers are flipping with the funky composition that be kicking. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like when the actual verse starts, that's perfect.
It has to be captivating.
That song right there. Thank you for bringing that song up. That was my favorite
got a
fucking
music
Nas
head right
song
here.
for the longest time. Where he says, rappers monkey flipping with the rhythm I be kicking, musician, the funk is composition, insane. He literally painted this picture of what he's going to do with you with the lyrical ability, and it was just something incredible. I think that Nas is still one of the top lyricists, but he doesn't get a lot of shine because he's an extroverted soul himself. So he's not going to go do the extra shit that people want to see from a Nas. But then again, when Nas is extroverted, people kind of complain like that's not Nas. You know what I'm saying? But that's the whole polarizing thing when you get to a top. You can't be too much of one personality trait that people have come to know you for. Because people, you leave a bad taste in the mouth. I try to think of an example of, like, there's certain times where Kanye's too Kanye for me. Where he's a little too egotistical, and I'm just like, come on, Kanye, you're so great at everything you do, but when you start to lean in your bag and it's not as funny, like when there's no humor sprinkled on it.
I think Kanye and Pharrell are essentially the same person, except Kanye is definitely that extroverted, like, look at me, look what I've done, like, look at this. To where Pharrell has done the same thing.
Right.
Bro he's built his own, fashion labels, his own furniture and all that stuff. But Pharrell never says, like, yo, check out my, like, he might say, like, he might tell you, hey, peep it out, check what I'm doing, that's me, that's blah, blah, blah. He's cool, right? But he never really, like, he's never, like, if he's arrogant, he's arrogant in such a, like classy way where you're like, you almost say it's just sophisticated. You're just like, yo, that's saucy. That's so nice.
And he beats Kanye to things too, because like you were saying, he had all the same things that Kanye bragged about before Kanye. You remember Billionaire Boys Club? And
Oh yeah.
he did the trucker hats before like everybody.
Is that
you know?
Van Dutch?
Yeah.
Von Dutch.
Wait, no, he did Ed Hardy. Wait, what did he do? Was it Von Dutch?
I don't know.
hats
I
he
know
used
they
to
had
wear.
the trucker hats.
He used to wear. Well, he wore everything. I
Yeah.
mean, like
Yeah,
Pharrell.
true,
was-
true.
The Bape and all that kind
He
of
made
stuff.
Von Dutch a
Good
thing
God.
though, like in
Good
hip hop.
God.
Because remember, Fabulous had the sideways Von Dutch on one of the. Yeah,
That's
he
what we
made
were
it
talking about. We
big.
gotta talk about rapper styles.
But the one thing that Pharrell did was he claimed to be a skater.
Yep.
So that was a lot different. Or Kanye just went as him.
True.
So I mean, like with
Backpacker.
Pharrell, you know, for like, so that's where a lot of people were like, oh, well, Pharrell's done it first. It's like, yeah, but he was skateboard P, to where that was okay in the skate culture type thing. Where Kanye came in, a black kid from Chicago,
True.
Wearing backpacks and
Well, yeah.
polos,
Polo.
stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I mean, it is. I mean, they're so similar, but you know, they still have their differences from my perspective,
Right.
at least.
But Kanye kind of fit the college kid prototype or archetype because he was a college dropout. So his whole aesthetic was that he was too fly for school. You know, like with the polo and the Louis Vuitton, like all that kind of going together. So they both had their own archetypes when they entered the game. But Pharrell's was a little bit more mind blowing because skateboarding it wasn't necessarily a black thing, you know, a
Oh, yeah,
hood
for
thing.
sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he, like when Lupe Fiasco came into the game,
Ooh, Lupe.
I was all ears. I literally, because I had never seen anything like just how different he was and so futuristic. Because look at the kids now; they all look like Lupe and Pharrell. You know what I'm saying? The way he was into anime. Anime is huge now on a mainstream level. People will say that it was around forever. Yes, it has been since the 80s, 70s, whatever. But these guys made it palatable to be consumed by the mainstream media, everybody. So I think that there's something to be said about that. Those two guys, Kanye almost operates like Pharrell doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You notice that? The only time that I've ever heard Kanye talk about Pharrell was when they were going to be in a group together with Lupe Fiasco. Ah.
Yeah.
Underground
You know what I'm
Revolution.
saying?
Yeah, child.
Red Russell or something like
Yeah.
that.
Right? You see, you start to connect dots and you see how people really feel about certain things. But, you know, it's competition at the end of the day. That's the same reason why Lil Wayne and Pusha T can't fucking sit in the same room together. You know? Because one person invented something or made something hot and the other person took it and made it even bigger. You know? You're going to look through history and see that happens constantly. It's one of the things that happens the most in any kind of genre. Somebody has a brilliant idea, but they're just haven't really figured out how to put it out there, and the other person said, thank you.
It's like Tesla and Edison.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the light bulb.
Okay.
Tesla was like, oh, I want to give that shit away for free. And Thomas Edison was like, yo, we can make billions. Billions with a B, baby. And so...
Back then.
Yeah.
Come on,
And they
man.
fucking smeared Tesla, didn't they?
Yeah, they
they and that's gonna happen. You know, you have the person with the resources, big bank take little bank.
Ooh,
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Kanye is definitely gonna always steal from people. I love Kanye, but what he does, he's like Quentin Tarantino. What he'll do is he'll take the sauce, he'll mix it up, and then it's his sauce.
Sauce Stillers?
We're back to the sauce now.
Okay. This
Yeah.
is part 2, goddammit.
Yeah. We went on a whole bunch of tangents about
But who's
sauce stealers. on
Who's
the
a
last
better
episode.
producer rapper? Kanye or Pharrell?
Or Russ.
Or Russ? Ooh, see, Russ. Or
I'm gonna say Kanye's the GOAT in
Okay.
that regards. But if you had to do Pharrell versus Russ, that's a better matchup.
Okay.
That's a better matchup because you're gonna be weighing on legacy with Pharrell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, he produced.
Reach.
Is it Justin Timberlake's first album?
Pharrell?
Yeah.
No way.
Fire.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like Justin Timberlake.
No, you're right. You're right.
I do.
Which album was it?
I do.
Justified.
And Pharrell produced it.
Yeah.
No way.
And then
Dude,
what?
Can we check?
That's the
can
one
we
with-
fact
That,
check
that-
that?
that's
Fact
true.
check it, fact-
That's
yeah.
actually true.
And then Timbaland came and did the second album, or
Well,
what?
he had. I think he had a couple beats on there, but I think he did. Yeah. I think that's the.
Yeah,
the second
Justified
album
was.
is
Yeah.
the feature sex with Timberlake,
Oh.
and
So
then the rest.
Who's better, Timbaland or
Marswell.
Dr. Dre?
As far as producer goes.
Yeah.
Dude, that's hard because I want to say that Dre is, but he had a lot of help, and like all producers do. But I know that Tim is still very much knee deep in what he does. Dre, on the other hand, I couldn't tell you that something that Dre's made in the last 10 years. Well, no, 5 years. Let's say 5 because he had the fucking.
He had that Compton.
He had Kush and.
Or the
Remember?
Snoop and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so he had some shit that you could tell he fucking made, right? But who was the other guy? Dre and Timberland? Timberland is actively still relevant. Like right now, they're trying to cancel him for sampling music that he paid for.
Okay.
You hear about that?
It was
The Indian music.
Big
Okay.
Pimpin'.
Yeah, but somebody made a montage of different times that he sampled Indian music. And
TikTok?
It was one of those kill videos, you know, where you're trying to cancel somebody.
Oh, yeah.
You know those kill pieces? They tried to cancel Timbaland. Somebody put hours into this, and they were playing different, like the Aaliyah beat, the Pig Pimpin', everything. And they're like, "What are we gonna do about this?"
What are we
Nothing.
gonna
You can't do
about
anything
He
about it.
paid for
Yeah.
that. It's not his fault that he found the fucking.
Cancel culture is
That's what hip hop
nuts.
is, man.
You know what's gonna happen though?
Yeah.
He found a fountain of gold.
Yeah.
He thought about where India is huge. They have their own culture. They have their own Hollywood. Like
They got reset buttons on their forehead.
So why wouldn't they have some golden nuggets over there? You
I'm
know
just
what I'm
playing.
saying?
Yeah.
I
But you
used-
know what's gonna happen though?
Oh yeah, everyone's gonna copy the trend. They're gonna go over there and flip samples.
No, I was gonna say.
That's insane.
Now that they know where to get it.
Cancel culture is insane, man. I don't know. That shit's it's insane.
Some people say
Well,
it's
I'm
a
gonna get
myth.
canceled right now.
Cancel culture?
Yeah, and
It's a myth?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why they say
Oh
that.
snap!
I'm gonna tell you why
Conspiracy.
they say that.
He didn't kill himself.
Because the repercussions are only as deep as like for example, if you don't have any boss, you're self-made, you can't be canceled. Look at Joe Rogan, for example. They try to cancel Joe Rogan, he can't be canceled.
Too
He just
big?
can't. He's too big. Once
Too
you're
big to fail?
Yeah.
Big pharma?
Yep. Just like Big Farm, just like Walmart. How come they can't take down Walmart? They just can't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Or pay more people to be at the cash registers.
Exactly. So once you're too big, you can't be canceled. But on the flip side, if you allow yourself to be canceled, then you're fucking gone.
Like if you fall into it and
Yeah,
stuff like
you
that.
fall into it.
Like, you know,
Gotta fight
accusation, response.
Epstein.
back.
Epstein? Yeah.
Like, look at I don't know if you guys follow
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah.
culture, but there's a YouTuber named Shane Dawson.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
guy's nuts too.
this dude used to make shock videos that were just immature. Like he had a blackface character that he called LaQuisha or some shit like that.
Come on.
And you know what? Everybody had some weird friend who was like kind of edgy and just weird like that, right? Like you, Mark.
yeah, Marvin's money.
Right? But you wouldn't dress up as a fucking
No,
character.
no.
Well, this
No.
guy did. And,
On YouTube.
yeah, this guy did, and he pissed off the wrong hive, and they built a montage as long as the fucking building to sink this guy's ship. And this guy said, "You know what? I'm done. Like, I'm gonna work hard to regain my fans." And then he was gone. He didn't have to fucking do that.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
could have literally fought back and be like, "Yo, are we gonna do this?" Like, everybody's had a life prior to the life they have now. Like,
That's true. That tried to happen to Kevin Hart. Remember about the
Yeah.
tweets? And I think
Yeah.
they're literally 10 years old.
they can't even.
But
bring
it's
Kevin.
crazy because like there's some cancel culture that I feel like gets inspired by like current events, right? So it's like I don't know, like it's nuts, right?
Right.
But then there's other stuff where it's like I feel like people are like maybe somewhere deep in Arkansas, they're just like, I'm bored and I fucking hate Kevin Hart. Let's start this thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because like it feels like sometimes it comes out of nowhere and it's like, man, what did he do now? Or, you know, like, or what did he even do?
Uh-huh.
And it's like, but there's like these trains, you know, where they're like, yeah, you gotta cancel.
Like Bill Cosby, when Hannibal Buress, that comedian.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he
Where
called them out.
He had a stand-up special. It wasn't even a special. It was just like he was doing a show or something, right? And he's like, you guys remember that Bill Cosby raped like 30 bitches?
Yeah, because Bill Cosby told him to keep him by his pants, right?
Something
Told him to stop sagging. He was like, "What are you talking about? You raped women."
Oh, that was a part of the joke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that immediately ignited people to start
Yep.
doing the research.
Yep.
And that's what cancel culture is actually a campaign.
Wait, that's how that started?
Yeah.
That's how the whole cancel Bill Cosby thing started?
That's how it all started.
What?
That's the whole thing,
Mind
dude.
blown. I thought it was like,
Yeah.
you know, all the
A
women
comedian.
started coming out. I just thought all the women started coming out, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy.
Because he
Cancel
was
him.
paying
I
the
didn't-
money. He was
I didn't
paying
know.
for shit.
That was off a joke.
It was off a joke.
It was revitalized because of the
Dude.
joke. Yeah.
Truth behind it.
Hannibal Buress just
Yeah.
destroyed him off, like just.
And he lost
casually.
no fucking sleep. He's a G, dude. He's just like, eh.
Hannibal Buress, dude. That is insane, dude. Just had a dagger and just sliced his throat.
But
Dude, what are you
Game of
talking-
Thrones.
hey,
I
but
mean,
that kind of
actually-
goes with what you were saying about being bored and just, you know, I don't want to cancel this person.
Yeah.
Because when he wrote that joke, I don't think he realized the repercussions that we're gonna, you know.
Yeah.
He was just sitting there like, this
That
is
would be
funny.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow, that's insane. I'm mind blown right now. I had no idea that's how it happened. Like I just caught. I would say I caught the last half of that game where I just, you know, the women were coming out, they were talking about the fucking pills and all that stuff, and then
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, cancel him, of course. You know, like, that's crazy. That's horrendous someone would do that.
Exactly. And even though Donald Trump did the same exact fucking thing,
Yeah.
you know, he's
He
too
became
big.
president.
He's too big to sink because they can't get this guy even when they have him. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So it just goes to show you that there's so many components to go into canceling somebody that somebody might not be canceled. They might just go away for a time period and then come back. Look at Carlos Mencia. Carlos Mencia made a living off of stealing comedians' jokes. And then when he got confronted for it by Joe Rogan and a whole bunch of other comedians,
Oh, yeah, that's right. Huh?
Joe Rogan actually got kicked out of the club that they all were doing comedy at. It's called the Laugh Factory, or it's one of those improv clubs that are down in LA. Joe Rogan wasn't as big as Carlos Mencia at the time, so they said, we're going to have to stop letting you come in.
Because didn't he steal Joe Rogan's joke? Was it that? Or
It was a lot of his
So,
friends.
yeah.
So, oh, okay.
Like Bobby Lee from Mad TV, and you know, like there was Amy Schumer and Carlos Mencia are kind of known for stealing the jokes and trimming them up. Carlos Mencia came out and said, I'm doing what rappers do. Rappers remix a fucking song, they drop it. What's the big deal?
Well, a song you can hear multiple times, and
Yeah.
a joke like one time you won't hit, you're like, oh,
Exactly.
That's
And that's what a lot of people were saying, is that a song is different than somebody's livelihood in their stand-up. Because your stand-up is, your jokes are your life. Some could say, well, your songs are your life, but you make so many fucking songs.
But
you know?
don't you think it's like you have to take into consideration the half-life of a creation, you know? Because I feel like that's why remixes, you know, they're good or they're cool, right? Because it's like, you know, let's say you heard a song from Wayne when we were young, right? And then like 5-8 years pass, and then we have some new girl who just remixes a song.
Right.
And she just does it, and you're like, oh shit, I forgot about this song. This goes hard.
There's one difference.
with Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one difference out of the two. And what it is that with the song that's remade, you can still see the identity, the remnants of whoever created it. You
Yeah.
can still do that. But when somebody takes a joke and fits it for their life, you completely devoided the fact that the creator's identity was a part of the joke originally.
Yeah.
And now you are camouflaging it as your own joke.
Yeah.
That's the only
That's-
difference. So that's why it became such a heated thing with Carlos Mencia. And if you notice, he hasn't been anywhere. Like
Yeah.
he's popping up doing podcasts now where he's trying to kind of, you know,
What is
come
it?
back out.
He had a podcast with Bobby Lee, and they
Yeah.
tried to call him out on it, but he wasn't, you know, fessing up to stealing jokes. He's like, oh, it's part of the culture.
Exactly.
But they gave him an opportunity, and he still fucked it up.
Damn.
Yeah, and he put his foot in his mouth so many fucking times about it. But I just pulled that out just to say, well, I forgot why we got into that tangent. But comedy and rap are really related, so it's really easy to use them
Yeah,
as
because they all funny out here.
analog
Hey.
metaphors. But yeah, let's. Cancel culture. We were talking about cancel culture. That's what it was. What is your favorite cancel culture moment?
I would say just off the fact that I barely learned that Hannibal Buress did that whole thing, that is definitely my favorite cancel culture. It's like, that's incredible. That's
No, I know.
Multifaceted. That one is definitely. What about you, Mark? I'm about to cancel you for that mess you made on your
I know,
sweater.
I know. I don't know if I do.
What's the I mean,
Canceled who?
I don't know.
Has anybody got canceled and you were like, fuck yeah?
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But you
That
guys
was
still
good.
listen to R. Kelly though?
No, I never really listened to him.
Oh.
What? Hot and fresh out the
You
kitchen?
must be used to me spending.
Oh,
Woo!
man.
R. Kelly.
Is it? I don't know.
On Notorious B.I.G., I'm fucking you tonight.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Let's see.
hard. That was on Life After Death.
Is
That's
it?
crazy.
Yeah.
It's R. Kelly though? Oh, shoot. I didn't
Yeah.
know. Oh, my bad.
That shit's hard.
I'm
But
gonna check it
yeah,
out.
he's a horrible human being.
But,
Bummer
okay,
back.
but you, okay.
Hey,
That's a weird topic.
You know where I'm going with this?
Let's see.
So he's a horrible human being, right? But you can separate his art from his human
Yes.
being.
I'll be the
right?
judge of that.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like Kanye. He's kind of like a douchebag in real life, but it's like his art is just incredible.
yeah, but
The
Kanye didn't.
pee on women.
Yeah, underage women.
Oh yeah.
Teenage girls.
Allegedly.
Teenage girls. Yeah.
True.
Allegedly.
Oh,
He
yeah.
said allegedly.
Hey, protect the bag, bro.
True.
Protect the bag.
And also, when he was arrested, when R. Kelly was arrested, he was worth $200 million.
Was
So,
he really?
Yeah.
No way.
They froze his fucking bank accounts and they seized his assets, so he's not worth anything now. But
200 mil? There's
yeah.
no way.
Oh
Really?
yeah, those kind of old school artists who had their masters and
You
things.
probably
of
get
that
a
nature,
Leah on
royalty
with that.
fee. Well,
I mean, like he probably has some of her.
Masters.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, I can see
And
that.
you know what? He was throwing it into people's face, and nobody really even noticed. Like the age ain't nothing but a number thing with Aaliyah.
Oh yeah.
He got married to her. They forged documents so he could get married to her. Yeah, he was a real weirdo.
That's insane.
That was the worst like portrayal of Timbaland and Missy Elliott in that Lifetime version that they did.
What,
Oh,
No, like the Leah movie. They
showed you where the budget went, huh?
they had Timbaland and Missy Elliott in the movie, like in a studio. Nothing didn't look anything alike.
They just had like
Yeah.
Cedric the Entertainer.
Well, have you seen every
Not
Tupac?
even, it was
that
like
they
Eddie
pick for a
Murphy.
movie?
No, it was
Like,
like, what?
every Pac they pick for every fucking Pac biop.
Yeah.
It doesn't look shit like him. Like it looks like his uncle. Or
They
his
got Eddie
cousin.
Griffin
Yeah.
as Tupac.
They put a bald cap on any black dude and said this Pac. It's
Damn.
fucked up, man. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
At least when they get Biggie, they make the motherfucker look a little bit remotely like him.
Yo,
Make
the
his-
guy that played Biggie in that one movie, it was really,
Yeah.
he really did look like him. That was nuts.
Okay, what's your favorite rap inspired movie,
Rap inspired movie?
It has to be like
or a rap centric movie?
Hustle and Flow.
So if there's rap music,
because that's a little
predominantly
fiction.
on the
That's
soundtrack,
fiction,
then
but yeah,
Hustle and Flow works.
yeah.
Okay.
That's what
Is
kind of
Hustle-
like got me
is
into like
Hustle
making
Flow
beats.
considered a musical?
It could be certain areas.
It could be turned into a
Yeah,
musical.
yeah.
Right?
Ooh, that'd be a hard ass musical.
Like how would you pimp the hose in music form?
You'd slap him.
Well, you'd have to make a song about it, and then you'd have to have them
Yeah.
singing and dancing to it.
What's yours?
Mine?
Yeah.
Paid in full.
Friday.
Friday.
Oh yeah, Friday. That's.
I thought you were gonna
culture,
say
man.
like
that's culture.
Get Rich
Even
or
the
Die
soundtrack.
Trying.
Even the soundtrack.
It's a good one.
When you hear Dre's "Blood that shot," like you know the Dre, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
The whole thing. I remember going to the movie theater, hearing the Dre like
Ding,
music
dong.
playing through the sound speakers at the movie theater.
Yeah.
That was an experience,
Oh,
man.
shit.
Okay, and my dad liked hip hop. He was a breakdancer in the '80s.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He liked hip hop, but he stopped liking hip hop after that era.
Because
After that Cali, because it was just the best. That was the best. And after it everything kind of just.
Okay, going back to the beginning, it was that like after that generation of the initial hip hop, right?
Mhm.
Was like, okay, so I was telling Fonso a little bit about this the other day. It was like, where I listened and so like maybe I'm getting old, you know, maybe not, where it's like, but it's like I listen to all these new cats and it's like, man, there's a few that stand out, right? There's a few of them that really do like, I'm like, oh, this is hard, but I'm like, man, all this shit sounds the same, and I don't want to listen to it, bro. I just want to listen to others. I want to listen to people I grew up with, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, and it's funny because it's like, I feel like growing up, everyone has that experience where it's like, you know, your parents are like, I don't want to listen to this shit, you know?
Right.
And so it's like, is that a generational thing? Because, but there is some people that I'm like, that they, I don't know, they just listen to whatever's hot, you know? And I'm like, I don't know, like, how do you do that? It's incredible.
Yeah, because for me, whenever music hit me the most was when I had the most time to listen to music. So when I was growing up and I was a teenager, I had my headphones, my first iPod that I wanted at a fucking school function.
Damn.
Like, yeah, I got lucky. But like, I had the most time to listen. So it was like either prisoners or students listening to the most music.
Okay.
Right? Because they're locked up, they got all this time to listen to music and shit on JPay. Right? So, JPay.
Hey.
But
You know what
when you
Peggy
get
means?
out of that and you have to
Ugh.
pay mortgages and you have to work to, you know, feed your kids and things of that nature, you only listen to music on commutes, and that's if you get the chance to, right? Well, now things are changing because the internet's making it so you can listen to music all day, every day, like I do.
Mm-hmm.
But before, that's how it was. So I think that the old structure of like what we were talking about, like artists that affect you in a certain way, and it being a generational thing, I think that that's changing. Like ever since the shift of the millennium, like a lot of traditional things are changing into like digital hybrids of their old selves.
Mm-hmm.
So like how you were saying the generation thing might be a 3 or 4 year loop.
Span now,
Yeah. I think that it almost is related to that same kind of thought process where you know, it doesn't have to be a certain time period in nowadays. It just depends on like the type of people and what they're doing. Because like there's people who go to work every fucking day and they play music through their work PA. And they listen to music while everyone's listening to the same things.
Mm-hmm.
So we're living in the wasteland of everything that happened before the 2000s. Because everything's been uploaded onto the internet. Now we just get to go pick and choose out of what's out there. you know, unless it's being created now. But at the same time, a lot of that is just reflections of what's already been done. Because right now, unless aliens are making auto-tune music, there's nothing new that we haven't fucking heard, right? Because have you heard music that artificial intelligence has made? Like
No.
There's been a couple times where I've heard some stuff where people have put together like computer composed music, and dude, it sounds just like the music that fucking humans make.
I don't
No
know if this is going into like too much conspiracy, but you know how they said like they cloned Gucci Mane.
No.
Or Eminem's a clone of, because you know, like this is real.
I want to end.
They're
I want to end all that conspiracy shit right.
Okay, hit it.
I don't believe in that cloning shit to that extent at any one bit. I won't give it no mind. Like the whole Kodak's a clone thing really bugs the fuck out of me. It bugs the fuck out of me because it shows you how simple the people are to think that you couldn't go through something and it couldn't have physical changes to you. Like he lost weight and they're trying to say, oh, his nose is different. When you lose weight, you lose fucking fat around your nose too. Like people.
Awol.Jay though, you hear about that one?
Which, oh my god.
Who is it?
That one's insane.
That one's nuts.
Who is it?
I don't believe that shit either.
School me on it.
A little girl showed me that one, man.
What happened? What happened?
She got it on TikTok and she was showing me the shit. And no, I don't believe that.
But what is it? What is it?
Man.
What
It's
did
a
it say?
fake one. It's a fake Awol.Jay.
It's like a fake
Is that
Awol.Jay. Like the
I'm gonna tell you what, man. All
what
the
was
money.
this? Someone murdered the real one.
Oh my
It's
God.
insane. It's insane.
I mean, yeah, if you can connect the dots and it makes sense, it's entertaining, right?
Yeah,
But
it is
at the same time, it's like, no. If all these resources were available, why would she be the one that it was used on?
Yeah,
How
for real.
important and how impactful was she in any regards?
I'm cloning LeBron. Hey, touching back, one person.
Speaking of R. Kelly,
who
no, shit.
is living in the pop culture, right? Who has not done anything bad, really, and I feel like has like moderate to like no hate, really, besides like the main argument is LeBron James.
Yeah.
LeBron James. The only argument that people say is he's not Michael Jordan, or it's always LeBron James versus Kobe or LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. But it's like it's such a, I don't know, like subjective argument that it's like, but
Unless you're courtside Karen, because she had lots of fucking.
Oh yeah, right. But yeah, I feel like he's one of those ones. But
Wait, doesn't China have beef with LeBron? That's a big op.
oh, they do.
That's a big op. That's the biggest op.
Have.
Yeah,
That's
but
so true.
you
I
can't
forgot
kill
about
what they
that.
can't see.
Hey,
What?
I'm just playing. I'm kidding.
No
I'm
way.
kidding.
Dude, you gotta edit those out.
Mars gonna
The
get
button one,
he's gonna get canceled for
this
that.
one.
Hey, but real talk. How big do you have to be beef with a country?
It's
To
crazy.
be what?
To beef with a country, an entire country.
Insane, dude.
And LeBron's on the right because he's fighting for freedom, democracy.
Because what was it? It was something about.
It was the Hong Kong. It was the Hong Kong thing with the protesters. It was something along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so he said, okay, we're not selling LeBrons in China. That's what it was, I think. So Nike was like,
Well,
"Alright,
they were
selling
gonna
LeBrons
stop
in
airing
China."
the games too.
Yeah, true.
So it was way bigger than just the sneakers at that point. He fucked up, man. But at the same time,
And China was like, oh my god.
he backpedaled.
Fuck.
He backpedaled immediately.
He did apologize, right?
Yeah.
he did.
And somebody came out and said that LeBron should just be dribbling a fucking basketball, and then that fucking got everybody behind him, and they're like, "Fuck you, man! You can't talk about LeBron that way.
Yeah.
Go dribble a fucking basketball." That's some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, cancel culture is a phenomenon that I don't think is gonna
Full
go
circle.
anywhere. It's the
Yeah.
angry mob mentality, because this used to happen 500 years ago. If you were a fucking witch, the whole fucking town got together and they went and burned you on a fucking on a roast.
Jesus.
You know, yeah, touching on that. Use it.
Jeez.
This guy that I work with, he asked me a super interesting question. He said, you know, off the top of your head, you know, name, you know, I don't know, name the biggest athlete in the world, right? You can name any of them, right? LeBron James,
Alive or dead?
Cristiano Ronaldo, yeah, you know, any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, secondly, he was like, "All right, so now tell me who's like the biggest, you know, thinker in the world? Who's the most, you know, progressive thinker in our generation?"
Mm-hmm.
It's like-
Einstein, someone or progressive.
Yeah, he's like, it's harder for us to find, you know, who's. It's harder for us to find thinkers than it is to find athletes, right?
Sure.
And it's because, like, it just goes to show that as a people, you know, we're starting to value more, like, not so much the value of knowledge, but more so the value of, like, tangible seeing stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's like how philosophers used to be celebrities.
Yeah,
you know,
back in the day.
And we stepped away from that because our culture has deemed thinking as irritability. Because if you ever make somebody think, sometimes they'll be like, "Man, I'm thinking too much, man. Like, why are you making me think this early in the morning?" Or you know what I'm saying? And I never understood that because all I fucking do is think. That's all I do. So I don't understand people who are troubled or bothered by thinking. Because thinking is actually critical to survival.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not able to think on your feet with an alertness, you could be robbed, mugged, you could be hit by a car. A lot of fucking things could happen to you, right? But people, we're heading to a time period where people are drones and they're kind of just like shifting through reality, going through the motions, and they're not stopping to think about things on a day-to-day basis. That's why people like us, the artists, are very important because we think for a living. You know, you can't create art without thinking. It's impossible. It's not art then if you don't think, because you have to put meaning into it. And in order for you to find meaning, you have to think.
And that goes back to the computers making the music and stuff like that? Like,
okay.
How does that sound? Like,
Is that considered art?
yeah. So,
See, that's a good question, because some people will say autotune is not art. But I've heard autotune that is fucking art.
Like,
Travis Scott. I've heard
Okay.
some Travis Scott shit where he's doing a little bit more than just croning into a fucking machine. You know, he creates vibes. He creates like paintings, which are himself audio, like in an audio form.
Yeah.
So there's a balance between the two. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's important in finding. You got to find that balance in order for you to create real art. You heading now, brother?
Yeah, I am.
All right.
I gotta end it.
man.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna end the podcast here. Right? Is that what we're doing? We're ending?
No,
okay. Oh, okay. We're gonna keep rocking, but our man Fonso here is dipping out. I'm gonna have to do a podcast with him and bring him back so we can get a little bit more of his insight.
Where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, let them know where they can find you.
Or give them the address.
On Instagram, the @on.something.
Bang bang.
That's good enough.
If you need them, you know where to find them.
That's
All right.
good.
Thank you guys.
Holla at you,
Yeah,
brother.
see you later, bro. I'll look it up.
Thank you.
Okay, so there's that. I think that thinking, critical thinking. You know what somebody told me one time? They said that the future belongs to the critical thinker. And I took that to heart, because what that meant to me is that we all have a chance. We all have a chance to be, successful and be millionaires or whatever your dream is. We all have a chance, because you just have to be alert. You just have to be ready. The opportunities come in. That's why I am so confident about the things that I say to be true, because it's going to happen. If you believe in the law of attraction, this is probably a good time to start talking about the law of attraction. You know that once you put it into reality by speaking it, you have to think it first, and then you speak it into reality. And after you speak it into reality, then it's coming.
Yep.
It's coming. The opportunity's coming. You have to get up and take that. Does anybody kind of want to talk about the law of attraction and maybe how it pertains to their life or what they believe? Because I think that our listeners would really get a benefit of understanding what that means. Because on the surface, you could think like law of attraction, the universe, fucking horoscopes. Nah, I ain't with it. But it's so much deeper than that. And I could talk about it, but I want to see what you guys, if you guys
touching
have
back on how you said staying alert
Mhm.
on surroundings, that is the law of attraction, because once you have that vision in your brain on how you want to get to or what you want to get to, that alertness allows you to take action on certain steps that you wouldn't have noticed on, that you would have discounted, like, oh, that's just something that could come back again some other time. But if you don't take the action, you never know what the action could have led to another action. And like right now, I was going to come here today, and you know what, the thing Awol.Jay hit me up. Now we're doing a podcast.
Boom.
Yeah.
Just like that. That's a perfect example. Law of attraction, like the podcast in general, is law of attraction for me, because I knew I wanted to do one, but I didn't know how I was going to. So I just started speaking it into existence, and then that's when Anchor, the app, fell into my lap, and then all these kind of things started coming together.
Alertness.
And then I was just like, holy shit, I just have to connect the dots. That's the critical aspect of the thinking, because you think and then you have to connect the dots. That's where the criticality comes from.
And I think also it's like making, it's like making tea, You have to have water there, right? and that's the law of attraction, we could say, is probably more so the tea bag, and we're the
Come on now.
and we're the water,
Hey.
But you have to steep the tea, you can't just throw the tea bag in there and then
Yeah.
expect it to brew. I mean, it does, but you have to steep it, you have to stimulate it. And so, like you're saying, like whether it be by paying attention to your surroundings, or whether it be going with the flow, it's equal parts, both. It's not just thinking, because thinking without action is also useless, and then action without thinking is also useless. And so the law of attraction, I think, is really like a good blend of those things, that you're willing to say, there's something out there greater than me, right? You're willing to say that, but not only are you willing to say that, you're willing to accept it as well. And and once you accept it, is like you were saying, and both you guys were saying, where it's like, one thing leads to another. You can't move forward and without accepting that you're in a certain place. It's like saying, okay, going back on art. When people ask me, it's like, well, how do I get better? It's like, man, you practice. Like, you can't close doors on yourself. You can't. You have to be willing to accept that, hey, I need work on drawing hands. I need work on drawing faces. I need work on designing. Whatever it is, you have to be able to accept that in order to move forward. And then secondly, it's like, going back to what I was just saying, it's like, once you accept that you need work on these things, right? Okay, we have to say, okay, how can I, or who do I see myself to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, do I want to be great, or do I want to be? Do I just want to do this because I enjoy it? You have to be honest. And I think the law of attraction really works most when you're truly honest with yourself. Because if you say, I want to be great, but you don't put in the work to be great, then your statement of saying, I want to be great, is almost like a lie, because you saying, I want to be great, doesn't motivate you enough to put in that work,
Right.
Right. And so that's where I'm saying it's like a perfect blend of these things, where it's not just one part or the other, it's one part and the other. They must work in unison.
Harmony,
Yeah, exactly.
Symbiotic.
Yeah.
And I think if you guys are, whoever's listening, really want to get into that, I suggest you read The Secret, and right after that, read The Alchemist.
The Alchemist.
Because
Yes, sir.
that's literally what the law of attraction is, and then it's what it's put into use in those two books.
Can you talk about alchemy a little bit, like what you think about that, or because I think that the alchemy, like let's use the internet as the analog, okay? The internet is kind of like the universe, okay? And it's almost like a simulation of the universe, because everything that you could think of is online, within reason, right?
Yeah.
Even the evil things, right? And the way that you can conjure these things is by using your fingers to type in symbols that pop up on a screen that then pull
what
the
you're looking
information.
for, yeah.
Yes. But in order for you to recognize what these things are, you have to have some predated information in your head. So that's what the whole law of attraction is to me. For example, I gas myself up off of an idea that I want to do. Like, I want to build a headquarters, right? I want to have a rehabilitation center for homeless people and drug addicts and orphans and people who need society, right? I want to do all these great things, but how am I going to do it? Well, first of all, I have to think about it in a way that fuels me. I build up all this energy inside of me, and then I dispel it while I talk about it on podcasts, and I bring the right people to the table for us to have a real conversation. And that's when I couldn't do these things by myself. I need a team of people who actually are experts, right? But the way that I can get them is by taking the information that I've already built up, the fuel that I've already built up, and dispersing it out into the real world. We were talking about 2-dimension earlier, kind of in a joking matter. Well, I believe the 2-dimension is everything that doesn't leave this.
There you go.
Right? And once it comes out into the real world, then you can see all the dimensions of that thing, and it is now 3-dimensional. And at that point, now we can do something tangible with it. Now we can actually move and that's where alchemy comes into play. Because creating nothing, to me, creating nothing, something from nothing, is exactly what the law of attraction really, that's a product of the law of attraction. Because a lot of us have come from, I wouldn't say poverty, but maybe we didn't have everything that we needed, or maybe parents were working 2 or 3 jobs to make something happen. Well, while they were doing that, that should have gave us some of the times to really find our passions. And when we find the passion, then we could really start doing the 10,000 hours that it takes for us to actually get really good at that.
Master that, yeah.
Right? So we have the ability to do what our parents didn't have the ability to do. And that's how this should be. This should continue to go on in that way. But we have to harness the power of thinking, the power of wishful thinking. And that's what the law of attraction is to me, and alchemy plays into that very heavily. I haven't read that book, but I've heard a lot of concepts when it comes to.
You haven't read The Alchemist?
Well, that's a good reason why you need to read The Alchemist after you read the Law of Attraction, because it talks about omens and what the universe is trying to tell you, God's trying to tell you if you're on the right path or not. And some people intuitively feel it, you're on the right path or not. And you can feel about all 5s and vibrations, because I feel like we're spiritual beings. We're humans. We're able to. We haven't tapped into it no more because it's been such a long time. We've been desensitized from all this, but at a core sense, we know when something is like not right or wrong, and sometimes if we don't know what to do, we just like look up to God or the universe. Are we in the right path? And based off your environment, you can tell. Like right now, I feel like we're on the right path right now.
Right.
These discussions, these ideas are. Whoever's listening to you right now, you're doing a good job right now. Keep doing what you gotta do.
Yeah.
And we're all in this together. We're all gotta move forward and keep our eyes open, alertness, and staying and taking action too when you see those actions, because those things might not be there forever. You see that one thing, you're like, I'll get to it later, and then later never comes. And then
that's exactly that. The way you said, I mean, like, 100% agree. You should definitely read The Alchemist after you read The Secret, because it's almost like, in a sense, it's almost like The Secret is the theory, and then The Alchemist, the book, is the application of that theory, not only in the story itself, but in the real world with Paulo Coelho and the way he came up with the story, And so, it's incredible, man. I like, paying attention to the universe, paying attention to the signs, making sure that you say, like going again to what I was touching on earlier, where you have to be careful with the things that you say. That was a perfect example, AG, because, people say, I'll do that later, Later is an abstraction of time, And so, like, when is later? Later could be in a second. Later could be 10 days. Later could be 10 years, Later never comes, because it's just that. It's an abstraction of a concept.
And that goes back to your saying, you want to be great, but you don't want to. You're holding yourself back, and and then the law of attraction is confused. It doesn't know what you want.
It doesn't know what you want. Do you want to be great, or do you just want to draw, or do you just want to create?
Right.
Do you just?
What are you comfortable with?
Pure intentions.
Exactly. Pure intentions, and knowing what you truly want. That's why I said earlier, it's like, if you want to do something for money, don't be ashamed to say that. I want to be an artist. I want to be a painter, because painters make money, right? Okay, cool, then say that, right? But don't lie to yourself and say, I want to be a painter because I want to be, I want to express myself, because your true intention is to make money. And so if you're trying to express yourself, you'll never really tap into that, and you'll never really figure it out, because it's not what you really want. You really just want to make money. And so it's so true. The law of attraction, the universe, is confused. So you have to have pure intentions, and you have to be super honest with yourself, be super truthful. I mean, like, even, like me, with art, with design, with Coover, I ask myself daily, is this what I want to do? Is this what I really, really, really want to do? And I ask myself that. And if that, in that day, in that moment, I'm like, no, then guess what? I have like so many other things that I'm so interested in. That touches back on our other question, which says, what do you do when you get creative block? Well, it's just like, man, sometimes no creation is creation, right? Because you have to let yourself heal from that.
Right.
And again, that's the universe saying that it's okay. I mean, like, you don't have to create every single day. I mean, Michelangelo didn't create every single goddamn day, right?
And that goes to seasons. Seasons happen sometimes, and plants die. Used to go for spring to come back around. Regrow. Season was part of nature.
That's an interesting take. Like, literally, maybe the block or whatever is stopping you in your artistic pursuit is actually a good thing. And it's actually creating more room in your hard drive to speed up your broadband, so to speak.
Yeah,
I like that. That's
man,
pretty good.
That's so. what you said earlier is also like, these are a lot of like, so whoever's listening, be mindful of all the things that we're talking about, right? Because you could say that we ourselves are products of these elements being mixed together, right? We're a concoction of these things. We're a concoction of the law of attraction. We're a law of self-awareness. We're a product of pushing ourselves, pushing our mental thinking, and we all have goals. We all strive for different things, and these aren't like, this isn't one mode of philosophy. I mean, and philosophy itself it's just different ways of thinking to find solutions to whatever we're encountering, And so, whoever's listening, be mindful of that in itself, because we are speaking about a lot of different topics, and a lot of different modes of thought and trains of thought. And even like, I mean, we've laughed in the last hour and a half, we've laughed. And we've also been serious, and we've been like, but that's the beauty of life, because you can do those things.
The range, yeah.
You have range, you have depth, you can do anything. You can create one day and you can throw it away the next,
Mm-hmm.
And what I just wanted to say as well is that sometimes we fall in love with an idea, right? But then again, we have to be mindful that an idea is just an abstraction, If you want to grow, you have to, going back to what you said, flowers die just so when springtime comes, they can regrow again. You have to be willing to throw away an idea.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be willing to throw an idea when you can see, or you can realize that it no longer has room to grow, or maybe you've outgrown the idea itself, and not everything, like, sometimes it's tough, because I used to be the same way. I wanted to be Supreme. I wanted to be Eric Brunetti and Fucked, and I wanted to be Bobby Hundreds, and I wanted to be all these people. And then I realized one day that I could never be, because I am myself. And I didn't live the lives that they lived,
And it's crazy because, like, not to cut you off, but like, say, you didn't realize that. And then, say you do make it. And the downfall is that people are going to be like, oh, no, he just wants to be Supreme. He just wants to be this guy, And it's like, you can never win, trying to be somebody else. You got to, like, do you. And if it doesn't work, I mean, fuck it,
You still go home.
At least you're happy
yourself.
inside.
Yeah. You do it with yourself at home. You look in the mirror, you're like, you're happy with yourself. Even if somebody doesn't like your product, you're happy with your own product, and go back to Van Gogh.
Yeah. Like, he did it because drawing and painting truly liberated him.
Right.
And it was the only thing that gave him a sense of life, gave him direction, and gave him, literally was breathing life into him, And without it, I mean, he was nothing. Yeah. And so it's like, but he, then, it goes exactly what you're saying, like, he didn't do it because he wanted to make millions of dollars. I mean, like, obviously he wanted to make money off of it, and his brother tried to sell his paintings and all these things, but he didn't make any of those millions until after he died, until after everything.
And it goes back to Tesla too, to Nikola Tesla. How he wasn't really about the money. He was more about the production of ideas and inventions, and that's where he took so many losses in businesses just to get the idea out, and he died a poor man by himself. But nowadays we use everything we use is attributed to him.
Yeah.
And he went in there with the pure intentions of, I'm going to create, not to create to profit. And look where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
literally in a society
pure about it.
Yeah.
So there has to be some balance where you still do it for the right reasons, but you in order for you to leave a proper mark. Well, Tesla left a mark without having to do it in a
capital way,
in kind of an egotistical way. But I think that there's like, you're the artist or you're the businessman. There's like a balance that you walk, because you got Kanye, you got Jay-Z. One was a billionaire first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the other one got a billion because of chance.
Yeah.
So you have to walk this balance between the two. And when you're talking about Van Gogh, and I was thinking about something, I'm not Van Gogh, but there was a period in my life where I could say, well, damn, that was my Van Gogh period. Because when I just started rapping, I was 13 years old, and my uncle had just got the Kazaa or LimeWire, whatever the
Oh,
fuck.
shit.
It's
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
And he was downloading the instrumentals for me on a CD because he had the first burner on the block.
And then you burned him with the porn.
Different uncle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I fucked over more computers than I'd care to admit, but this uncle right here gave me the instrumental that I locked myself in the room with.
Yeah.
And then that's when I started freestyling every fucking day. My parents were like, just let him do his thing, right?
Oh.
But that was my Van Gogh period because I was doing something to express myself because it added to the quality of my life. I would have been a mess otherwise. You know, I don't like to throw the suicidal word around, but like a lot of us have a time period where we didn't care what happened to us because life was not the best thing for us. You know, at the time period, that's what we thought. But music was a spaceship that allowed us to escape, or art, or whatever it was that you were attracted to. And that would be my Van Gogh time period because before I started showing the world like what I was capable of, it was a very special thing to me, and I didn't let anybody fuck with it. So when I started going to school, that's when the girl component came into play.
Shit.
When women started realizing like, hey, he's got drive, he wants to be something more than just average. They didn't even care that I could rap good. Just the fact that I was trying and I didn't fucking care that anybody was watching is what was attracting the females. I was using the law of attraction though, because I really wanted girls. I really wanted girlfriends. I wanted a lot of women around me. I wanted those things, but I did not know how to go about it. But by sticking to what I was good at, it came as a side effect of it. So that was my Van Gogh period where I was rich beyond my eyes and I did not know it. Because before the struggles of creating music and not getting the acclaim that you spent up, you know, all night and in years trying to get, that was the time period that I call golden. You know, if I could go back to a time period and just sit and vibe, it would be that. When I was 13 to probably 17, that time period was just so perfect for me. Whether I made $1 or not. Even though I did make a lot of fucking money because I was burning CDs and selling them at school. But
Allegedly.
allegedly, Kamaikan does not know that. Watch Kamaikan and my uncles be like, yeah, we knew.
We plant them vines. No.
But I like to keep the podcast going to about like a 2 hour, like, because when we did the 2 hour, it was great. People liked it being that long. So we got like 14 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a free for all because we talked about some really great concepts tonight. Is there anything that you want to bring to the conversation right now? Our listener that's listening right now, we can switch the conversation on and we can keep going. Any little final thoughts that you guys want to give out? And today, on this time period, this is the timepiece that we're doing. This whole podcast is actually an art piece that we are all contributing to. It's an audio one.
I just want to, whoever's listening, I just want to, just, you know, if you got this far, just, if you have something that you want to do, and, you know, just do it, you know. I mean, you might fail, you might not. I mean, I prefer you to fail now than, you know, when you're, like, making $100 million and just, you know, lose it all. It's, you know, you just got to try. That's the hardest part, is to try and...
Better learn how to fail, because, you know, nobody's perfect, so one day or another we're going to fail at something.
Yeah.
And might as well fail early, that we know how to bounce back and move forward.
Exactly.
It's like the skateboard concept or skateboarding. They say learn to fall.
Yeah.
Right?
And how to fall.
How to fall. But if you learn how to fall, then you can control a lot of things in your future as far as skating goes, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, yeah. I mean, and just touching on the same thing, I mean, basically, like, if you want to do something, I would say do it with pure intentions, with honest intentions, you know? And if you want to be, you know, great, I'd say that the cost of a great idea is 1,000,000 bad ones. And so don't be afraid to have bad ideas. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make bad stuff. It doesn't matter, because what really matters is that you're doing it. You know what I mean? And that you're starting, that you're trying.
Don't be afraid to start. Like, you got to do it.
You got to do it. I mean, it really doesn't matter, you know. What ultimately at the end of the day, and a thing that gets me through, and I hope it gets you through, is that, you know, you have to realize that it's you come into this world alone, and you might leave alone, you know, but your journey throughout is definitely not, you know. And whether it's getting company and good vibes and good energy and reading the universe that gets you through, or reading books, or drinking water every day, or, you know, going on a run, like whatever that is that you find joy in, then that's what you're meant to be doing. And that's it, you know?
It's law of attraction.
It's the law of attraction, baby. It goes back to it every single time.
And what I want to add too is I heard something recently that really stood with me, because I like to consider myself like a mess, but like a beautiful mess, because the chaoticness that I am is all a method to my madness, right? And what I heard somewhere recently was, before you take on the world, before you reach out as far as you can to do what you have to do for the world, make sure that your house is in order. And this means so much to me, because we have so many things that we have to take care of on a personal level, whether it's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. You have to take care of those things first, because they will find a way to pop up in your life, and then you won't be able to handle them in the same manner that you could privately. And that spoke to me, because I'm somebody who likes to go 100 miles per hour till the wheels fall off. And like I said, I'm an abstract artist, right? Whatever sticks is my piece, right? But that only benefits you in one aspect: if you're immortal.
Okay.
Because if you are not immortal and you could fall apart and die, that's an issue in itself, right? And we are all struggling with this humanity thing of staying healthy and staying fit and staying healthy mentally, thinking the right things and not being steered left or right. So when I think about like the Trump supporters and all the QAnon people and like storming the Capitol, I think that that's a symptom of something that's really a deeper conversation, and it's mental illness. And I think mental illness can manifest in so many different ways, and the internet and social media can accelerate the flames on these things. So we all have our own mental illnesses and conditions that we have, whether it's small or big, and we have to deal with these things, whether that means eating healthier food, or sleeping more, drinking more water, like my friend here was saying, things of that nature. You have to take care of those things, because if not, they will come up to bite you in the ass. And I say this on the eve of me having a panic attack from drinking a coffee too fast and smoking weed.
Today?
It was the other day.
Oh,
but I'm going to tell you
shit.
what, that really made me feel like a human and not Superman. Right?
Put you back in balance.
It really put me back in balance, because I realized that I was living a little too fast.
Yeah.
I need to slow down. I know my listeners probably be like, "Oh yeah, a cold brew in a bowl head is too fast for you." But that just shows you where I'm at in my life, where everything has to be checked. I have my checks and balances. There has to be meaning to everything, and that goes back to the house being in order. If my house is not in order, like you come over and my bed isn't done, and things of that nature, that shows you on a fundamental level that I'm not taking care of things that I need to. The dishes need to be done, the laundry needs to be done, things of that nature have to be taken care of before I can go and pull a podcast episode with some great speakers. Because what does it mean if I have to go back to a dirty house? You know, it means that I'm not taking care of things. And I think that's not so glamorous, and people don't talk about those things, but that's human. And we need to talk about those things, especially on the internet. There's no better platform to be real than the internet. And that's another reason why I don't edit any of the things that we record, is because I want to show people, like, when I was growing up, freestyling was the biggest clout. Like, if you were a freestyle king, like, you could rap off the top of the dome, you had clout beyond, like, people were afraid of you. It was like you walked in with a pistol.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, he flows off the top of the dome, you better watch out with him. Well, and now no one cares, because rappers are like, I don't freestyle. And I get that a lot, right?
Do you want to I don't know if you're gonna cap it off here, but tell that story where you were freestyling at a quinceañera?
Oh, we'll save that for another podcast.
Okay.
Well, my man here woke up and chose violence today for that question. I'm gonna tell you what, man. There is many freestyle stories that ended with violence that we can talk about on another podcast. But,
We definitely got to hear that. We'll definitely have to hear that one.
but to
Man,
cap
truly.
this off, the last thing I want to say is that everything is possible, like everybody has said. Everything's possible, but it's possible for you. That's the thing that you need to realize. Just because anybody can do anything doesn't necessarily mean that you can do anything until you think you can. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want our listeners to do. Because if you are a kid, like let's say you're from 13 to 17, that age that I was talking about, that golden era, and you have an iPhone, and you know about podcasts, and you have connections to these things, and you have me on your social media platform, boom, right then and there you can get tapped into a whole bunch of game that you can listen to for 2 hours. Like, that's something special that nobody had access to at any point. I listen to audiobooks while I'm driving. I listen to podcasts all day. This was not information that anybody had access to, you know, without reading and spending a lot of fucking time to acquire it. Now we can get these things as simple as talking to each other. So I always want all my listeners to take the information with a grain of salt, because not everything does applies 100%. Take what's good for you, and then always keep an open mind and know 100% that the things that you want will come true if you stay committed. If you stay 10 toes down and you apply that muscle, there's no way that you can't get what you want. And with that being said, I'm going to allow my guys right here to give their social medias so you can connect with them on a deeper level. And that's it for me. What you guys got?
Marvin, you can find me at Captain Mars, Instagram and Twitter.
AJ, you can find me at MRSilverG, anywhere that you find cool stuff at.
And I'm Jay. You can find my personal stuff on Twitter and Instagram at Awol.Jay. And that's AWOL_J on Twitter, and then it's AWOL.J. And then obviously I'd more prefer you follow the brand and follow that journey, and saw all these thoughts and ideas go through there. So thank you very much. Thanks, Tory.
Yeah, no doubt, guys. Thank you guys for being a part of this. This is history live from the Northwest.
Love.